perfect.
Let's see where we get. Okay. By now it's the early afternoon. There is a gentle knock at the door. Within a moment, the door flings open, Rahadin standing in the threshold of the room with 2 guards donned in heavy plates bearing the crest of the Count. Heavy halberds rest in the crooks of their elbows with a pommel against the floor. Ismark, we have some rather pressing matters to tend to. The Count would like to take a moment for counsel before dinner proceedings begin. As you would know, our lord doesn't often mix business with, pleasure. His innocuous poise seems off-putting. Since your arrival, there has been all but a red carpet rolled out for you, yet the hair standing out on your neck would be a clear indication of your discomfort. What is your response?
Okay, and you said that there are guards like toting halberds.
Yeah. He has armed. I mean, in your recent ventures here, sure. But I mean, this is whether or not it's, how can I put this? Whether or not it's escorting a guest or escorting a prisoner, there's not much difference right now.
Regardless, it's a hair-raising situation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, am I still in like the main bunk room with my allies, or?
Yes. So, Elion and Than are sleeping. If you want, you can give me a perception check on that.
Sure. Oh yeah, it's low. It's like a 6.
Okay. All right. Yeah. They're just in their bed asleep. There's a pile of dirty clothes kind of off to one side, and it kind of makes you wonder what it is that they're currently wearing, but that's about it. That's all. That's all there really is. Everybody else is gone. Irina obviously is in her own room. Valkithra is not there. Trevok's not there.
So I'll have a bit of a nervous glance about, and then I'll say, of course, I would not want to keep the Count waiting, and so I will hop up and make sure I and go with them, I suppose.
Arrogantly, he smirks at you in your response. I am certain you know the nature of this meeting, do you not?
I prefer not to assume.
It should be an eye-opener, all the same, Ismark. Comes in. Let's be off. The guards look at you over as if you didn't have much of a choice to follow or stay. Do you resist them?
I do not.
Okay. Rahadin leads you out of the room, and the guards close off. Oh, you were saying?
Yes. Yeah, no, I probably start like eyeing up the guards and seeing if they had any other like weapons or things on their person that might be accessible should things get ugly.
So they have a belt. As I say, they have a belt with a dagger in a, how can I put this, in a sheath. It's standard custom part of their uniform, as well as so they wear, it's plates with chainmail, and then they have tabards. They have dark purple tabards with a crimson emblazoned raven, but for a pop of color, they have white cloaks. So kind of take that for what you will, I guess, is a description.
Yeah. Not doing anything cute yet, just casing them or being aware.
Okay. You recognize as you step out of the room, you kind of, you realize that you don't have your swords on you. And it's at this point that you Also recognize that you're at the mercy of whatever hell they're about to put you through.
100%.
Rahadin leads you out of the room, and the guards close off any escape you might be planning from behind. He leads you through a few corridors and into a private chamber. As he approaches the room, the guards take their place on either side of the double doors. They reach in and swing the doors open quickly. Inside the large room is a large stone throne. Sitting amidst its regaled stoop is the most vile and despicable creature you have known for as long as your mind can recall. Your teeth grind as you approach. Give me a perception check.
Oh, it's good. 21.
You notice something off about the way he sits. His left arm lays lamely on the armrest, and you can see him sitting with a faint lean to the right. He raises his right hand in greeting with a small dip of his head. He speaks to you natively with a heavy accent. Welcome, Ismark. Have you found yourself comfortable?
Of course. Your Rahadin has been a most gracious host in your absence. It is good to see you, Count.
With this, he
bow deeply.
All right. With this, he grins.
Bow deeply.
Okay. With this, he grins widely, and he looks over to Rahadin and offers him a nod. He says, "Yes, my steward has been trained appropriately in all matters of dealing with the running of the realm. Should I need to be absent. However, he is not quite me, as most would say. However, your recognition is more than welcome."
Of course. Well, he has quite large shoes to fill in that regard, I would suppose.
He offers you another friendly smile. "I have called you with a rather specific purpose, Ismark." And with this, his stone gaze kind of returns and his tone becomes slightly uncomfortable. "I have some rather pressing matters to deal with you. Why, surely you know why I've called you to private council. With bands of foreigners roaming the countryside, you taking your sister into Durst Manor, and now I believe someone in your party has made an attempt at my life. Tell me, Ismark, do you know the penalty for treason in my kingdom?"
There can be but one penalty for such egregious act.
"And what would that be?"
Unfamiliar. Sorry.
Zip.
There is only one punishment for such an egregious act. But again, I'm a little caught off guard. You surprised me with this accusation. Please enlighten me as to what has gone on.
"And should I trust that you are surprised by this accusation, dear Ismark?"
I have no reason to lie.
"And you see, Ismark, from my throne you have every reason to lie. However, the answer I was looking for in regards to the penalty of treason against the crown, there is one penalty. It is I deem fit, never more, never less. But do tell me, Ismark, What do you think would be a fitting penalty of treason for friends of the Burgermeister?
Friends of mine?
We will get to that. I believe that you and I can agree to some certainty that the penalty would be much worse. And as he chuckles, he puts his right arm over his ribcage. But, my constituent, you have missed my ruse. I am certain some of your fine civilians, he says with a tinge of sarcasm, would disagree. Your father served me well. I imagine you could do the same. Rahadin, bring it here. Give me a perception check.
Okay. 14.
Excellent. You see his face quirk a moment as he turns to watch Rahadin. He strikes you as an old man for once, and not the Lord of the Undying that you often envision in your time of doubt and uncertainty. The thought you know is foolish, but you try to convince yourself that all of your worries, the dereliction of your people, could all be over in a swift strike of your swords. You smile at the thought of ending his reign, but it's quickly overrun with the dread of your failure. Rahadin returns with a dark mahogany box. Its contents rest lightly over dark purple velvet cloth. Inside is a brooch, much like what your father wore, a raven resting in the palm of an open hand, signifying a trust between the wild horrors you've seen in your days here and your mundane existence. The same mundane existence of which you've lived, keeping only the treasures that freely wish to sit in your open waiting hands. What do you say, Ismark? Do you wish to take your father's mantle?
I always imagined that I would take his place one day, though perhaps not so soon. I do not yet know if I am worthy to stand where he stood.
And tell me, Ismark, if not you, then who would rule the village? It would seem that unless you are looking to reject my offer, that you would be the only one who should bear this mantle.
I would gladly pick up my father's mantle, and I would gladly lead and protect his people. And yours, of course.
I have hopes that you will one day serve me and your countrymen well. Who knows? Perhaps one day you will join us here on the brightest day of my life, when your sister is finally ready to take her crown as Countess of Barovia. Of which, tell me, Ismark, what are your thoughts on the matter? Does being my brother bring you joy? To you the way that it would a layman? Think of the respect you will gain. All those who have uttered Ismark the Lesser could be tried for crimes against the crown. His voice lowers with a bit of a tremble of excitement. Think of all you could do with such power. He gives you a moment to ponder your thoughts before speaking again. What do you...
So Ismark's face would just flush completely white at the entire mention of this. He's just, you can see him almost like grinding his teeth.
Okay. How noticeable would that be?
He he keeps his composure, but his jaw definitely tightens
Right.
a bit.
Perfect. He definitely doesn't see you or notice it anyways. So tell me, considering her father is gone, is this a blessing you are willing to give?
I can only imagine the flood of emotions that I would feel on such a day. But I think that a proper courtship should endure first. But
Of
must be finished, my
course.
dear sister.
Of course, my dear man, of course. If I wished
Sometimes,
to hold her captive, I'd have done so already.
and it goes without saying that anyone in Barovia should feel overjoyed to find themselves in such a prosperous situation.
Think for a moment, Ismark. Think of all you could accomplish. Why, you could even turn the village into a prosperous home. Or rather, an affluent neighborhood. I would imagine that if you gave the proper amenities within the confines of your village, that perhaps some of the finer constituents within my realms would, if nothing else, keep a house to vacation to. It could mean great things for you financially and for your village. So you will have need of, how would one say, play your cards correctly.
Of course, of course. I have to wonder, is this a subject that you ever broached with my father? Or was there not time?
There were a myriad of reasons, you must understand. Though I would imagine that he would not have said no. Don't you agree?
No, I'm certain there were a number of other responses that he would have had first.
He was much like you, Ismark. He was a smart man. The troubles that smart men often bring on are done so alone. And thus, I invite you here to my court, where two smart men can come together and solve all the problems in the realm. Would you not agree?
Or it's so easy.
There is a way that it can be, given the nature of the problem, no?
I suppose that we have little to do but try.
That is all I could ever ask of my subjects, Ismark. However, there is more that I wish to know. Firstly, Why is it you took your sister into this manner?
Did I take her or did she take me? Um,
That is a fair point. That is, she is rather adventurous and stubborn, admirable qualities in this court, if nothing else.
no, yeah, of course, of course. We believed that there were children in danger. And, of course, as your potential burgomaster, I must defend your subjects to the best of my ability, as would my sister. So, that is why we delved into that rat's nest.
To put it lightly. However, Ismark, that is a rather favorable answer. Rahadin, show him his brooch. And with that, he approaches and he holds the box out and open for you to view. Should I have him put it on your lapel?
Please.
And with that, Rahadin snaps his fingers, and the man that you see or have seen a few times now driving the carriage quickly slumps into the room. His steps are rather uneven. You notice every time his right foot comes down, it's almost like if it were made of metal. It seems very much heavier than his left. And he comes and he kneels down in front of Rahadin with his hands out, of which Rahadin puts the box in and then pulls the brooch out and begins to like pin it to the upper part of your shirt, like where you would typically pin something. I not really looked at what it is that Ismark is wearing, but I assume that he wouldn't have like lapels and shit. At the very least, it would be like a frill, you know what I mean? Like a sort of like a tuxedo, but without the jacket.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Go on now, Escher. Leave us. And with that, the man steps back up and runs out the door. Rahadin takes a few steps back, stands at the side of Count Strahd with his hands tucked behind his back. Strahd then looks at you. As for your compatriots, what are their motives, Ismark? What do they most desire? Surely you could tell an old friend.
While we have certainly become fast friends, I think it takes a little longer before one's deepest desires are revealed to his compatriots.
Now, do not be bashful, Ismark. And with this, he gives a very firm grimace on his face, and he crosses his right leg over his left. Tell me about them. In detail. At least what you know. If nothing else, I have brought them to dinner. I will need some talking points.
Very well. There are two, of course, that are brothers, if not in blood, by choice. They serve a god of which I have never heard. It is not of this land. There is another.
What are their names?
Yes. The brothers, you mean?
All of them.
All of them, of course. The brothers are Thand and Elian. Again, they're the one that serve this, what do they say his name is? Helm? Are you familiar with this god?
I have heard rumblings, so it has been some time.
Hmm,
If it pleases you,
entirely.
you should know that I had your friends prepare my chapel in the event that your sister finally agreed to marry me, and I had their altar consecrated to the god Him. But I am sure you are aware of all the duties they had before them in cleaning up after the rebellion that happened some few years ago. Surely you are old enough to remember Donovich's son Doru.
I do recall Doru. It has been. So this is kind of out of character. How long would that rebellion have been?
Probably about 4 or 5 years, roughly.
Okay, so this is not that long ago.
No.
A most unfortunate situation. I had not realized that they might have caused damage to the chapel during this rebellion. It is.
Well, they made it quite far into the keep, but it was I, through a game of cat and mouse, that thwarted their coup, so to speak. You will find that all who have tried Ismark have failed. As such, I still sit here. But you were telling me more of your compatriots. You have told me that 2 are brothers, either by blood or in faith, or perhaps both. Tell me more of them. Why are they here? What do they know? How do they feel about yours truly?
As to their purpose for coming here, I could not speak. But I can say that you have given them as warm a welcome as anyone in this land. At least to my eye. So, how could they not be appreciative of you?
A fine point, Ismark. Tell me, has anyone wronged them since they have arrived?
They, they have been wronged at nearly every turn, but could hardly blame you. It seems most of them had their possessions taken from them.
They have.
In
By whom, do you know?
So I know I wasn't here at that time.
I'm trying to think if they've mentioned it to you at all.
I'm thinking that based on some of the context I've heard, like maybe they're suspecting the Vistani, but I really don't know.
Yes. So that actually we'll put a pin in that, and that's something I'll bring up for dinner.
Yeah. Regardless, I don't know, so I'm not gonna tell him who.
Okay. Yeah. No worries.
Was exactly. Yeah. No sense in pointing fingers where they're.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm unsure.
So you say they have been wronged? Perhaps, since they have helped me with the chapel, perhaps I will see about making these things right. If nothing else, bringing their wrongdoers to our own flavor of justice.
I'm certain that whatever path you choose will be the right one. And
Of course, Ismark.
I'll like
See, I told you, Rahadin, he is a smart boy. This man has doubted you at every step and every turn, and yet here you are, line after line, impressing me with your wit, Ismark. Now, please, continue. There are others, yes?
Of course, the others. There was, of course, Espion, our uh, theater pointy-eared friend. He did not escape the Durst house, unfortunately. Though
Oh,
he did, in doing so, perhaps he saved others.
a noble feat indeed. Tell me, Caspian, you say. Do you know of where his origin was? And the same would go for Elian, you said, in the stand. Where are they from?
Hmm. Not from here, but they have not shared that with me. Although, if you'd like, I'm certain that I could inquire.
We shall save it for topic of discussion for dinner. As you know, I am often one to know my countrymen, and as you know, most do not live here. It would seem that entertaining their whims may pay dividends, if nothing else, to my burgomaster.
Hmm.
But there are more. Please, do not let me keep you.
Of course, of course. The other two members of our little party. Again, I do not. Perhaps I do not know as much about them as I'd like, but one seems haunted by his past. The other is rather haunting, if you ask me.
Oh, you mean the dark elf girl? Yes.
Indeed.
Tell me,
Just
are you familiar with the Shadar Kai?
no. It
Oh,
is.
they would be people for a privileged type, such as us, Ismark. Why, they live in a realm of darkness, as you can see amongst her skin. Strangely, they are mischievous, like most of the elves. Though perhaps they are not child takers, as the commoners here would often believe. But they are said to have been made in the eyes of the Raven Queen. Are you familiar with the Raven Queen?
Most of my tutelage in religion has been of the Morning Lord. I am moderately unfamiliar with the Raven Queen.
That is quite fair, Ismark, as a man of faith. I would not expect you to know much of the world outside of Barovia. However, as the leader of Barovia, it is often that I try to surround myself with those of great knowledge, and I suggest you do as well. For outside of this realm, there could be dangers, and knowing our enemies will be all the better.
Wise advice, Count. She'll take it
Yes,
to heart.
of course. Now, tell me more of this girl, the outspoken one.
She's, as I have said already, a bit unsettling. And she seems to commune with things that I don't understand at times.
In what regard?
I think she can communicate with the dead from times.
You say? There has been another here. In a none too recent past, perhaps a little older than you would remember. Her name was Aurea. She could commune with the dead. She crossed me, and I believe I dispatched her. However, I never found her body, nor has she reappeared in the 20 years since. Strange that we would find another off-putting foreigner that could commune with the dead. A commending trait, if nothing.
Surely it is but a coincidence. I am certain that if you have dealt with this Aurea, they are not in the picture any longer.
One
You
would
don't
hope.
seem to be the you don't seem to be the type of man to do things by halves.
Definitely not one who likes to do them twice, if nothing else. But you say she can communion with the dead? Why is it that you speak such?
She at times seemed privy to knowledge that was not readily apparent otherwise.
I'm not certain how you would draw the conclusion with that answer, Ismark.
Well, perhaps I have been a bit presumptuous.
Perhaps. Another topic for dinner, indeed. Tell me, Ismark, there is another one that one of my consorts seems enamored with, and I must tell you, in private, in confidence, amongst you, me, and Rahadin, I am uncertain why it is that Anastasia has taken such a liking to your dwarven friend. However, she seems to be rather genuine. And when I spoke of scolding the lot of you for taking my dearest love into the belly of the beast, so to speak, she was quick to defend him. Tell me, as your compatriot, why is it that my wife would be so enamored?
I could not speak to why Anastasia is enamored by the man, but he is most certainly boisterous and loud and altogether likable, but I would not be concerned about her interest in him. County. It is purely but he is such an interesting fellow, I'm certain. He
The only reason I ask, dear friend, is that there are thousands of those that live here among the realm. There are others who hold more power. There are others with more refined features. There are others with the gumption to tear a man's spine out through his stomach, and yet she seems to be drawn to something about this half-man. Surely you can give me more insight to this half-man than simply that.
What type of insight do you seek?
Tell me of him. Yes. Tell me of him and his personality. You said he is boisterous. There have been assumptions that perhaps your little friend is quite heroic. Would you agree, or should I find new sources?
What I have seen, he has been quite heroic. Although it's perhaps that is compensating for a past that was less heroic. I don't know.
You will find Ismark
brave.
in your reign as Burgermeister. The finest man is never the finest man in the hour. It is the man who tries to be the finest man day after day after day. But perhaps the tales of which we are told of his heroism, his selflessness, and perhaps the longingness to have a true friend, or more than enough to win her over. All of these things are great discussion for dinner, I assure you. And you tell me of one that did not make it from the hellhole. Caspian, you said?
Yes.
He rubs his chin a moment and he snaps. Oh, Caspian, the dark one, yes, the man. A rather brooding man, as it were.
It sounds as if you met him.
Only once. Shortly after they left your house, actually, the first night of their arrival. See, you would know, dear Ismark, that they called your bluff rather quickly in telling them that my beloved could not read nor write. And it was I who showed up with the letters in your sister's handwriting. It was then that I met them.
Perhaps that was a half-hearted deception on my part.
A fair one, if I may. You were doing nothing more than protecting your house and your sister. And who were you to know these foreigners from any other in the realm? And of course, I am willing to be slightly lenient in your understanding, as your father had just passed. So do not fret, Ismark. We are friends here.
It is much appreciated.
Yes, sir, of course. And as he says, of course, The door flings open. Let's see here. As you wrap up your personal recount of your compatriots, the door swings open. You hear terrified whimpers of a woman and the heavy clicking of stiletto heels. As you turn, you see a small gnomish woman being walked towards you. They stop at your side as Anastasia shoves the woman to her knees. Kneel in the presence of royalty, dear. Act as if you had any brains at all. The Count turns his gaze to meet his wife. Where do you look?
Eyes are probably locked on the gnome, the newcomer.
Right. Tell him what you have done, Anastasia says beratingly. The gnome begins crying hysterically. Please, my lord, I lost my concentration when Her Majesty entered your chambers. It was an accident. In your name and all the gods, it was an accident. I swear it. Anastasia raises a hand, of which Strahd immediately calls to her. Anastasia, if anyone is to punish her, it will be me. Stay your hand. I need you to give me an insight check.
Okay. It's an 18.
Anastasia is furious and visibly shaking. There is little you know of the situation, though your time here would all but tell you that whatever the gnome just did, it isn't worth killing her over. She pricks Trevok with a pushpin. Surely she means to poison us. She must be behind your current poor health. She must be punished. She could be plotting an assault on all of our lives, my love. She could be plotting to pluck every feather of your reign, my dear. Strahd takes a long moment to consider her words. It would seem you are on to something. Wouldn't you say, Ismark? As he turns his attention to you.
Okay, so does this gnome look like maybe she's a seamstress who might have been fitting somebody for new clothes? Okay,
Yep.
great. I would not so much question your assessment, but as many times when I have been fitted for clothing, I have found myself pricked and prodded. It is an unfortunate part of the process.
She immediately looks to you and she's like, see, please, my lord, it's mercy, I beg of you. Her falsities are sure to end my life with little merit. Please, I have children and a husband. With that, Anastasia looks at her and growls, You would call me a liar, you little bitch? Strahd, slightly annoyed, looks at them both. Let me consult my newest compatriot. He should give us some fair advice. Please, he is due your respect in silence. He then turns to you judgingly. Tell me, Ismark, how would you handle this issue in your court?
It is simple. She has upset your household, and therefore she should no longer serve your household. And she should be removed to go do her work in whatever village. Although I cannot say that many people would wish to garner her services after losing your favor. But as far as pricking Trevok is quite stout. I am certain he will be fine.
You are certain of this, Ismark, that he will be fine? It would seem that you have missed her secondary accusation, and that perhaps that needle had been poisoned.
So it is best that it should fall on the dwarf and not on yourself, if that were the case.
The assumption, my dear friend, is that she is looking to kill you and your compatriots and all those who serve the crown, myself included. Do you hold any merit to these accusations? Or are you willing to trust my life in the hands of a lowly commoner?
Hmm. Oh, will take a thoughtful moment to consider.
Okay. They look at you judgingly, like it's the weight of the balance is kind of in your hands right now. The three of them look at you as if they're I mean, obviously you would know the response that they look for um, in character. Like you would know. Like they're definitely waiting for you to tell them to kill her. They want to see if you have the gumption. Um, then the gnome is looking at the ground. Just she's kind of crying and shaking her head and kind of mumbling prayers underneath her breath.
Okay. If you have reason to believe that she is a threat to you and yours, she should not be here.
A dark glint comes over Strahd's eyes, along with a wide smile. You do seem to have a good head on your shoulder, Ismark. We shall see and investigate the matter before any rash decisions are made. Thank you, Ismark. A fine job. Always good to know more of the subjects of my realm. Is there anything more I can do for you as my loyal subject, as a token of good faith?
No, I am quite humbled to be your guest, and would not wish to hold you any longer than absolutely necessary.
It has been a pleasure, my new burgomaster. Please do see fit that as you return, Rahadin will provide you with more formal attire from your home. We have sent some guards for you and your sister to wear something more elegant than what you have now. However, I am aware of your circumstances and, if I may, would like to address them now. So you see, the dead ran you from your home, did they not?
Indeed, they did.
I see. It is a common misconception amongst the laymen that I control the dead. However, I must tell you that is not true. And I suppose this should not leave this room, as it seems to help keep people in line. The dead come to me. They plea and demand their freedom from this life, so to speak, their life. They wish to move on to the afterlife. However, when I do not meet their demands, they do as they see fit. And it would seem that re-establishing rule of their own was as they saw fit. As the Burgermeister of the village of Barovia, when you are done philandering and mingling with these foreigners, friends as you call them, please return. I will outfit you, send you with some men. You may retake your home and will be provided the resources to repair it. And perhaps your friends here, Elion and Strahd, as you said, perhaps they can give him a proper burial. It would seem by now that Donovich has lost his touch.
It is most thoughtful, my count.
Of course, you have done me more service than you could know today, Ismark. Now, if there is nothing more, Rahadin will show you back to your quarters and allow you to prepare for dinner, and I shall handle this matter here.
Of course.
Very well. Rahadin, take him back to his room. And with that, Rahadin sets down the mahogany box that he had been holding. Or I guess no, Escher took that away. He unclasped his hands from behind his back. He kind of ushers you towards the door and leads you back to the room. The difference being that when you get there, he addresses you as my lord. He'll say, "Have a good evening, my lord. We will fetch you in time for dinner."
Of course. So kind of upon leaving the chamber with Strahd, Mark would kind of like look down and realize that his fists have been clenched, if nothing else, to keep his hands from shaking. And his palms are just sweaty as all get out, and he's just kind of decompressing from
gotcha.
from the stress of that.
He's not having a good time.
No.
That's what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should touch on. Okay. No, I think that's it. I think that's all. So when you return, it's still just Elion and Than in there asleep. Trayvok's still not back yet. To give you an idea of what that gnome looked like, she was probably 3.5, 4 feet tall, kind of a larger head in the scale of her body. She had white hair that stayed in braids. It was parted down the middle and then like braids, like all the way back down, and then led to ponytails.
Yeah.
They didn't give you her name, but it is Lanji Kinesguard.
Lanji Kinesguard.
Yeah. You would know the Kinesguard name from Dooley Kinesguard Tailor, or tailoring. Dooley Kinesguard as a tailor from Dooley's Tailoring.
Probably misspelling the shit out of this.
Yeah, Dooley, Dooley. And then Kinesguard is kind with an S and then guard on the end of it.
Okay.
And that wraps our session.
Oh God, I'm totally fucking got her guilt, man. I fucking know it. I'm like, what do I can't fucking interfere. I can't piss him off.
To be fair, she was gonna die regardless of what you said. You actually,
that's the fucking problem, right?
You played that up. So I'll tell you, because the remark will be subtle when we go to do dinner, but when they go to do dinner, obviously they don't eat, like, so it'll be a full feast for all of you. You have whatever the hell you want. They only drink blood, and they'll mention at one point of enjoying some Kinesguard wine during dinner.
Oh, wine. Oh no.
Yeah, so they're definitely, they're gonna stick her like a pig basically and bleed her out, and then they'll drink her blood over a nice fashionable dinner.
Oh fucking
it's very Strahd, man. Yeah, come on, that's great.
Very Strahd. I feel like a shit. Just not standing up for that person at all.
What were you gonna do? So I even had it in my notes that, like, if you were to have spoken out that Anastasia was going to immediately shut you down, and start talking shit. Like, so then it's not just her that's in question now, it's you. Like,
exactly.
You played that exactly how you had to. There was no way around it. But I'm going to stop the recording.